Sometimes, exploring means staring at maps. I'm author and researcher Mike Luoma, and I do love a good map. This one depicts the glacial lakes and seas that filled much of the Champlain Valley and beyond towards the end of the last ice age, for a time even connecting to the Atlantic Ocean. After the weight of the ice sheets lifted, the Earth's crust rebounded. Now land that was at sea level over 10,000 years ago is a few hundred feet above sea level, all around our smaller Lake Champlain. The work of Vermont researchers George Springston of Norwich University, Stephen Wright of UVM, and John Van Hosen of Green Mountain College, this map, Major Glacial Lakes in the Champlain Sea, Vermont 2020, has been helpful, as I've found a great deal of interesting stonework along what used to be the shoreline of the Champlain Sea, and the PDF I've had let me roughly chart its estimated current location. Very roughly. I finally found an interactive version of this map at the state's Vermont Open Geodata Portal, which lets us really zoom in, as well as select which glacial lake phase or the Champlain Sea to overlay. We can see the approximate locations of the ancient shorelines in much closer detail. It is nice having this interactive map to play with. Vermont's winter snows can throw a wet blanket over most stone site exploration. Last winter I worked on videos from visits the summer before, which I hadn't yet been able to produce. Now looking at Glacial Lake Vermont in its Coveville phase, wrapping around the Saint Albans Town Forest, I decided to work on the video from a visit there last spring, which I hadn't yet had a chance to make. I didn't find much in the way of definitive stonework in the town forest during my visit last April, so I didn't feel overly compelled to create a video. Although I did find a feature which I haven't seen noted elsewhere, which I have seen elsewhere, which I call a perched wingstone in an alcove, where a wing-shaped stone or assemblage of stones is apparently deliberately perched in the center, the middle of a seemingly intentional space, a concave alcove either built up or carved out around it. I've tried to draw an example here. This is in the Saint Albans Town Forest. The perched wing-shaped stone sits in the center of what's now a leaf and duff-filled alcove. Comparing the glacial sea's map to the hiking trails shows it sits near the ancient shore. But well above the heights of the Champlain Sea 10,000 years ago, this is on the shore of earlier Lake Vermont in its Coveville phase, 13,500 to 14,500 years ago. I can imagine looking out at the chilly waves on a glacial lake or sea. One of the first perched wingstones in an alcove I'd found was on a ridge northeast of Colchester Pond. Checking the map, sure, it was above the Champlain Sea, well above. But it was the northern tip of a landmass, the wing in an alcove right on the shore of Lake Vermont in its Coveville phase. I found another possible example in Williston and Suckerbrook Hollow. Found on Lake Vermont in the Coveville phase on the map. There's an inlet to the east that leads behind the Oakview Hill trails, where I found what looked like an alcove with a mostly buried toppled wing, but with an attendant side wing still standing. There are more of these apparent features in the Milton Town Forest. Also on Lake Vermont shore in the Coveville phase. Now, I have found one outlier in Red Rocks Park in South Burlington. Though near the highest point in the waterfront park, it would have been underwater in all phases of Lake Vermont and the Champlain Sea, according to the map. There is a wing in an alcove here, as well as an attendant wing on the side. And it doesn't sit on the shore of Lake Vermont during the Coveville phase, at least not according to the map. This does make me wonder if other geological processes may have later lowered this area. We are near a fault line here. Or maybe near the water and not covered by ice sheets. It always stood higher than assumed, and did not rebound quite so much. I had to let you know of this one in the interest of transparency. Plus, it's in my Red Rocks video. And I am proposing an admittedly somewhat outlandish theory. Is the perched wing-stone in an alcove a stone construct, a human-created stone form, possibly erected by a water-based, coastline-living indigenous people existing on the edge of retreating glacial ice some 14,000 years ago in the Champlain Valley? I think it could be. And it could be the precursor to thousands of years of working with stone by the indigenous peoples of what's now northeastern North America. After the wing in the alcove, everything I saw in the town forest that day seemed a little more interesting. My first trip there had come a little over a year earlier, and the forest was still covered by a foot of snow. I'd seen what looked like a huge stone row in the snow. Now, a year later, seeing more details, it looked a bit more like a natural feature. But a voice now wondered, in the back of my mind, what would 14,000 years of erosion look like on a massive human-made stone structure? I wondered that about this boulder, too. Likely a glacial erratic, which may also have sat on the shores of an ancient glacial lake or sea. Could its shape have been enhanced to suggest an effigy? How eroded is that work if it's here? There were more curiously shaped stones placed in ways which suggested to me they could have some significance. But there was nothing more definitive, no repeated form, like I'd seen in the possible perched wing-shaped stone in an alcove. I've spoken and written about other ancient theoretical stonework I term possible large-scale Great Serpent stonework, landscape-sized works where natural outcrops are enhanced by added stones and shaping to become effigy forms. This work seems to occur at a height indicating it could have been done at the time of the Champlain Sea, 10,000 years ago. The perched wing in an alcove work would then be older, precursor stonework. And what's coming to be accepted as ceremonial stone landscape work would then follow on from the possible large-scale serpent work. Again, this is theoretical based on what I've been seeing. As a non-academic observer, I prepare written pieces, photo collections, and video presentations to offer my theories and ideas, and I appreciate you taking the time to consider my speculation by watching this one. I'm Mike Luoma. Thank you as well for experiencing some of the Saint Albans Town Forest with me.